Take a look at this. As the world's most powerful economies gather in the French town of Evian for the G7 summit, the backdrop could not be more dramatic. A fragile US-Iran understanding, uncertainty over the future of the Strait of Hormuz, the continuing war in Ukraine, concerns over global growth, artificial intelligence, energy security, and critical mineral supply chains all are converging on one table. And at that table is going to be sitting India. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is attending his 8th consecutive G7 summit as an invited leader, a reflection not only of India's growing economic weight, but also its expanding diplomatic influence on the global stage. And then this year's summit is expected to focus on stabilizing a volatile global economy. We're talking about securing critical mineral supplies, strengthening supply chains, governing artificial intelligence, managing geopolitical conflicts, and addressing the fallout of the recent tensions in West Asia. And for India, the agenda goes even further. Prime Minister Modi is expected to push India's priorities on trade, energy security, technology, critical minerals, global governance reforms, the voice of the global south, as it were, whilst once again positioning New Delhi as that leading voice, taking the entire Southeast Asia with it. The summit also provides an important opportunity for bilateral diplomacy. Meetings with leaders from the United States, United Kingdom, Canada, the UAE, are expected to focus on trade, investment, again, technology, partnerships, energy cooperation, regional security challenges. And perhaps the most closely watched engagement will be the scheduled meeting between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and US President Donald Trump, a sidebar at the G7 summit, and coming at a time when both nations are working towards a trade agreement and navigating a rapidly changing geopolitical landscape. So what exactly is India hoping to achieve at this summit? To help us put that into perspective, joining us here on the broadcast is Mr. Rabindra Sachdev, foreign affairs expert. Many thanks for taking out the time, sir. Long time no see, but it's been quite an eventful last 100 days, Mr. Sachdev. How do you look at this development? Today, there were no hugs. That's what people put into focus. The optics were that it was a powerful handshake, but that earthquake-like hug between the two leaders, we did not see that. Is that because they're meeting for the first time in the last 16 months, the first time after Operation Sindoor, the first time after the 3 Indian seafarers were killed in that US attack? And mind you, of course, the trade deal that's on the anvil as well, a balancing act that New Delhi has to do no matter what.
Thank you. Yeah, sometime definitely, and a lot seems to be happening, and not only seems is happening in the world, simultaneously. Regarding India and US, definitely is the last 1 year without doubt has been the worst in terms of our bilateral relations in the last 25 odd years. It's a fact of life, right? We've had differences and we've been rubbed, and America has pushed, we've pushed back. So now it is time for relations to come back to an even keel going forward. Marco Rubio's visit to India recently was similar, I would say, in that sense. I was saying that it's like this annual servicing of your motor car, like making sure that, your wheels are lined and, the oils are there, etc. Now, going ahead in terms of bilateral between Prime Minister Modi and Trump, definitely, as you say, that trade would be one issue, but I do not see much progress coming out of this meeting on trade, because America is right now investigating under Section 232 and also under Section 301 what can be the potential tariffs which can be imposed on any and all countries. Because ever since reciprocal tariffs were ruled illegal, immediately Trump, pivoted to using executive power under Section 122 and imposed a 10% tariff for 150 days. He has that power. Those 122 days run out on July 24th. Simultaneous to imposing, 10% under Section 122, Trump ordered his Department of Commerce to investigate under Section 232 on issues of national security, and Section 301 by the Department of US Trade Representative for unfair trade practices, to investigate and give him a report, so that as soon as this 150-day period ends, he has other tariffs in his, in his arsenal. So meeting up now, when American trade policy itself has not been defined, I do not know how much productive it can
be. Mr. Sachdev, I understand where you're coming from, and many thanks for, upgrading our viewpoint to those particular sections. When this sidebar actually happens at the G7 summit, Before this, Donald Trump has called India a hellhole. He said, we've been exploited by India. And of course, I know that all of this is mostly bluster, but the rhetoric works. At least the markets get fooled by, what Donald Trump here is saying. But then he's also called Prime Minister Modi a very good friend. What do you think is going to be the most operative takeaway when this sidebar actually happens?
A great question. Yes. Well, the takeaway after the sidebar is that, US and India are settling into a new normal and a new, more harmonious normal. In this new harmonious normal, India is clearly standing up for some of its own viewpoints and issues, like even in the matter of trade, even in the matter of where we source our energy security. In some, we are succeeding. In some, America is being able to pressure us, and we are adjusting. I mean, there's no this thing to it. I mean, it's a reality, what we
Yeah,
have to
yeah, yeah.
adjust. But India is moving into a new normal. So, in a way, US India relations into a newer normal, more harmonious compared to last year.
Okay. You see, Mr. Sachdev, when you look at the G7 summit table, you have all these leaders. You've got LCC, you've got von der Leyen, you've got the German Chancellor, you've got the US President, you've got Zelensky. All of these people, if they could, be holding a placard, there's going to be one thing that they themselves really want from the G7 summit. So when Macron says we're talking about AI inclusivity, we're talking about AI sovereignty, voice of the global south, sustainability, global governance reforms, doesn't all of that take a backseat when everybody comes with their own little agenda? And who's really calling the shots? Nobody really knows. LCC wants his own way. Germany wants their own way. Von der Leyen wants their own way for the European Union. Is this really a multilateral alliance that has no teeth anymore? And it's just powerful optics. There is a sideline tour that's happening for the spouses as well. It's always happening in very scenic scenarios. But what's really coming out of G7 is a question that one needs to ask, isn't it?
Oh, great question. Absolutely. Okay. There is optics, but then there is also some optopolitics too happening. Wherein optopolitics, I mean the realities of geopolitics on which are layered the optics, right? So both is happening. Some real geopolitics is also happening or being probed. The issue is the world right now, to my mind, the world order is collapsing. The previous world order, whatever was supposed to be after the Cold War and all, since the 1920s, the order has been collapsing, crumbling, and a new world matrix is under construction. In this phase, which we are undergoing in the world the last couple of years and ahead for the next few years, all countries are looking to reassess, recalculate their relationships, their supply chains, their connectivities, testing out the robustness of their relationships and all. So it's a new matrix which is under construction. So therefore, we are seeing that all countries exploring, probing, figuring out what is in their best interest, calibrating up some relationships, getting a reality check on some relationships, especially getting a reality check on relationships with America. I think not almost, all countries in the world are today looking to recalibrate or re-understand their relationship with America because they can see that there are lots of moving parts out there. So G7 serves that purpose with bilateral meetings on the sidelines. Like Prime Minister Modi would be meeting perhaps 2 or 3 other heads of states also, right? Similarly, the Europeans, when they're meeting with us, Europeans also looking for a way out or a new matrix development because they cannot depend upon America like they used to do. They are not happy with China. So where do they go? So there is that flux.
Everybody's trying to keep maximum options open. And you spoke about optopolitics. I think a lot more is going to be coming our way because the gala dinner is going to happen, any minute now. But, Mr. Sachdev, before I let you go, my final question to you is that, India, it's been invited to the G7 for the 8th consecutive time. This not only reflects the growing economic importance of New Delhi alone, it also shows us that India is increasingly being seen as this indispensable geopolitical player. That's old news. But when you're talking about a new world order, and in that new world order, a new normal for India, is India a balancing power today? Is it a bridge between blocks? What is India's actual role here? Because it is a global role. Is this the independent pole, the new independent pole in a new international system?
We are not yet a balancing power, but we are very much headed to be a balancing power.
All right.
One, we've been always talking about, a middle path and not the era of wars, the era to live and let live. That's where our moral compass is. but we do not have the heft and the weight, geopolitical, economic right now to be that balancing power. But still, we are
All
the
right.
only one, perhaps, who's talking this language. So the more wealthier India gets, the more our economy develops, the more our role, because we already have the ideological basis, the more our role will play out to be a balancing factor.
All right, then. I think we're going to leave it at that particular point. Many thanks, Mr. Sachdeva, for speaking to us here yet
Thank
again
you,
on
sir.
News 9. You're a credible voice when it comes to geopolitical matters and the optopolitics. I've learned something new here today. Many thanks for taking out the time and speaking to us here. So you've got AI, you've got trade, you've got defense, you've got the global supply chain and the voice of the global south when we're talking about global governance reforms and Prime Minister spearheading that for India. This is India's message at the G7.